Hello all, John Miares again from the USDA NASS Great Lakes Regional Field Office in East Lansing, Michigan. In this presentation, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the minimum data requirements that are expected for tract level and segment level records for the June area survey. Then, Jimmy Bolello from the Mobile Survey Services section at NASS headquarters in Washington, D.C. will be demonstrating what might happen in CAPI when those minimum requirements are not met. One of the biggest challenges of the June area survey for enumerators is that we have to account for all land in every segment, both agricultural land and non-agricultural land, whether we're able to contact the operators or not. We can't just leave records left as inaccessible or refused without providing some information about what is in that tract. Much of the responsibility for accounting for the acreage falls on enumerators in the field to observe what is happening in those segments and to report those observations. Additionally, unlike some of the other surveys we do throughout the year where it won't matter whether you submit the record level data or not, in the June area survey, all tract level records and segment level records need to be submitted in CAPI before the due date provided by your regional field office. It is best if you can submit your work as individual tracts get completed in order to minimize the amount that has to get processed at the last minute. For agricultural tracts, at a minimum, we need to collect the following information and have it submitted in CAPI. We need the name and address of the tract operator. If this can't be verified, please contact your supervisor or your NASDA coordinator who can provide you instructions on how best to proceed. We need to know the type of operation it is so we can complete the 9921 box. Is it an individual operation? Is it a managed operation? Is it a partnership? If it is a partnership, we really need the partner names and addresses included as well. Most importantly, we need Section D completed with the acres operated in the tract and how those acres are utilized. You can then provide an indication as to whether or not the information was reported or observed for the tract. Next, you should do your best to complete the information in sections E and F, especially when it comes to the presence of certain crops or storage capacity on the operation. You should also make notes of any livestock you observe in the tract, especially any hogs, cattle, sheep, goats, or horses. From there, you should try to complete the standard office use information on the back page of the questionnaire, including the response code, respondent, mode code, enumerator ID, and the date when you completed the form. For non-agricultural tracts, at a minimum, we need to collect the following information and have it submitted in CAPI. Just like with ag tracts, we need to know the name and address of the tract operator. Again, if this can't be verified, please contact your supervisor or your NASDA coordinator who can provide you instructions on how best to proceed. We also will need the information for columns 18, 20, and 20A on the screener form completed and entered into CAPI. These include knowing the acres in the tract to the nearest tenth of an acre, the potential for agricultural activity to take place in that tract before next June, and the type of non-ag tract it is using one of the 12 codes and categories listed on the back of the screener form. Any narrative description of the land use is welcome as well. For the segments themselves, all tracts need to be accounted for in CAPI, and the total acres reported in each segment needs to be within 10% of the digitized acres for the segment before that segment level record can be submitted. In many states and regions, the expectation is that the total reported acres will be within 5% of the digitized acres, partly because we would be preferring to get as close to the digitized acres as possible. Please consult with your supervisor, your NASDA coordinator, or the survey statisticians from your regional field office for more guidance in this. In summary, you need to submit every tract and segment level record in CAPI for every segment you are assigned. When you submit the information, you need to include these minimum data requirements. As the field enumerator, you are the only person who can provide us this critical information. You are the only one who's been authorized to drive around and observe what is in the segment. Without this minimal amount of information, the statisticians in the office cannot clean up the records or meet our due dates for this survey. To help remind you of what's expected, the CAPI instrument will generate alerts with big orange banners if you try to submit incomplete data for a tract or a segment. In the remainder of this video, Jimmy Bolello of the Mobile Support Services section at NAS headquarters will be demonstrating what will happen when the minimum amount of data is not provided.
I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things enumerators can do to put in an inaccessible and the warnings that might appear if they don't do their track acres. Okay, here is one I had started. So this track has been screened as an ag track. So I have gotten into the questionnaire, and that's at this point where I'm going to decide if, I can't get a hold of this farmer. I'm going to have to do something to complete the track. So the way that we suggest not having to go through the whole questionnaire is there's a hot link button at the top, and it's in every CAPI survey. So I'm on page 1 right here of the ag track. So I can type in my inaccessible here, and I can click on that button. So what it just did, it took me to the end. So if they do get to the end and section D is not done here, so they can fill out their back end to here. They couldn't get a hold of anybody. So when they try to submit, it's going to generate an error. So whenever they use that hot link button at the top, it's going to go to the end, and this is what they're going to get when they submit. So this is after the first submit button. If they touch submit again, it's going to let them go. It's going to let them submit it. So we don't have a hard stop in here where it just can't submit this ag track when it's inaccessible with no track acres in 840. So the way to get back there is, so if you can go back, I hit 2 clicks right there. You see what it did? It went all the way to the beginning. So they're going to have to go in and at least pick operation description. And then I'm right at section D. So I didn't have any acres here. So the enumerator tried to submit this with no acres. I'm going to put some acres in, and that's my observed, and and so on. And like you would do on a paper questionnaire, you would go in and fill in what you know. So if it's, pasture, it's all pasture, you can get at least that done. So the way to get back, how do I get back to the end? I don't want to go through the whole questionnaire. I may know he got some cattle. I'm going to have to thumb down through the cattle. I'm going to have to go down the sheep if I know he's got sheep and goats. There's no way around thumbing through these pages to get the data that you need to put in there. But I can get to the end here and submit. I just go back, and I'm back at the end. And I need to fill in my response codes at the end. And then I'll submit it, and then it's going to submit. So let's go look at a non-ag. So this one is an unscreened non-ag tract. And for informational purposes, I'm going to verify that's doe farms and nothing's changed. So I'm going to screen this thing all the way down. No. So I've screened this guy's non-ag. So you need an entry in 846. You need to answer these questions. You also need to answer your drop down. If they try to submit without answering those questions, we got some errors that pop up. So I think this was another thorn in the side when numerators was submitting without some of these codes. So that may help. So they can go back and make sure they have these boxes filled in correctly. You know, whatever needs to be in there. And if it's observed, that's another problem that they're going to say, well, I don't know the answer. Well, you should estimate those boxes just as they would have done on paper. Now, again, this error is going to come up only once, which is probably a downfall of that, but at least they will see that yellow banner up there when they leave some stuff blank on non-ags. So the last thing I want to show is a submission segment down here. I think I've got this one sort of ready. So I have a tract. I got some comments in there. I wanted to show you segment level comments. You know, those types of issues that normally are written on the back page of the screen. So I want to go in there and submit this non-ag. I just wanted to show you a fully submitted segment. So this is a large non-ag tract that got screened. No, it's woods. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And then you'll see a timestamp show up. So both of these tracts are submitted. This is pretty much ready to go. My RADA is, I purposely did this. And they're going to get the error here. So they're going to let them submit it. We're going to let these go through. We don't have hard errors to stop it. So at least they will get a warning if it's not within 10. If I touch it again, it's going to submit. So I just wanted to show you some of those warnings that the numerators might receive when they're trying to get through these segments.
Thanks, Jimmy, and thank you all for your attention. If you have additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact your supervisor, your NASDA coordinator, or regional office staff. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you all again very soon.